Well, good morning, church.
Good morning, Steve.
I hope your Lenten journey is on track. Before I begin the formal part of my homily, I'd like to start with a small story. I can't wait for baseball to start. I'm a big Mets fan. I'm so sorry for you Yankees, right? And I've been watching a lot of March Madness, basketball, and one of the things that strikes me that's really kind of stands out in the last few years is how many cameras are on the field of play and how many times that they use instant replay to see about their calls, So there's even talk in baseball that they might get rid of the umpires and just use this box that's projected onto the screen. Those kinds of things are kind of strange, aren't they, in a way? We are so a rule society. We want to know when things are just right, just wrong. We love to have things that are very concise and very clear. Well, the reason I say that story for you is a very serious topic. In the last couple of weeks, I've had two different people come to me with a very similar question, very similar crisis. Each one was having a crisis of faith. Each one questioned, whether God existed or not, which is common. And they were saying things to me that if God existed, then why is he letting this happen in the Ukraine? I wish I'd had a good answer. The only thing I could console them with is that if we were given this referee type look from God, then we would lose all free will. We'd be forced to follow the rules. You see, on the field of play, we always have umpires, don't we? We have people who are judging whether we're doing things correctly or not. We have, referees that'll jump in and say stop and blow whistles and point blame. Right? They'll say, okay, you're out of bounds, or you did this wrong. But sometimes we want God to be that way. We want God to be the person who's a referee, or the person who is the umpire, to be able to say clear and concise things, right? This is what's good, this is what's things are wrong. And that's kind of tough because I don't know about you, but we break laws all the time and we don't think of ourselves typically as lawbreakers. Did anyone do 56 miles an hour this morning on their way to church on a 55? You too are a lawbreaker, right? But we rationalize things as people, don't we? We're like, I'm not terrible. I wasn't going 90. I was only doing 62, officer. Right? Isn't that the cushion? Isn't that the agreed upon, idea of what it means to break the law? You can break it a little bit, but not a lot, right? So for the people who want God to come down and have this clear and concise way of doing things, it would come with a lot of ramifications. On the field of play, they're limited by how many cameras there are. But I doubt God has that problem. I bet you God sees everything. And we, in turn, have to be able to take this as a fact of life, right, as well? So we're not perfect. We have a long ways to go, at least I do. And sometimes I think, that I gotta just keep trying better and better. Our gospel reading today points that out. See, in the time of Jesus, it was very commonly thought of that if something befell you, some terrible tragedy, that it was because you either did something wrong or your ancestors had done something wrong. That was their idea of how God got back at you. Right? So you were a bad person, you had a tower fall. If you did something terrible, that was what would happen. And I love that idea that, there's immediate justice, and we love immediate justice. But we don't live in a just world, do we? Because if we lived in a just world, there wouldn't be problems in the Ukraine. We would be able to get along with one another, and we'd be able to very much value one another. But we struggle with that. At least I struggle with that. But the great thing about today's gospel is God says that you need to repent. That means just ask for forgiveness. And then we get to start over again. It's like the game reset, right? Where we get all of our fouls back, right? We get to start all over again every day. And we get to have that opportunity. I know that if God followed the same rules that we sometimes want to impose on one another, that I would have been kicked out of this game a long time ago. Right? My 5 fouls would have been gone and I would have been ejected. But God doesn't do it that way. God doesn't think like you and I do. God says, okay, you're a knucklehead, right? You did something terrible or you did something stupid. Come here. I forgive you. I mean, the very reason that we have this big confession, that reconciliation service that Father was talking about before Mass started. Because we get that opportunity to reset, don't we? We get that opportunity to be able to come into His mercy and His compassion. During this Lenten journey of mine, I've been really trying to focus in on that. Maybe cut myself some slack on times I've failed to notice God. And maybe open my eyes up more to the times I've failed to notice God. Because we need to be able to do that, right? We need to be able to stand in front of God and ask God to forgive us, that we can start over and to guide us. May we continue to see the world, not just how it is, tragedy all around us, but how it can be. With the same thing that's around us is all the love and support. God doesn't do this to us, we do this to us. But only with God can we get out of this mess. Only when we realize that everybody's life has value, that everything in the world is up to us, will we be able to really be able to see the true nature of God and the cross. May your Lenten journey continue to